Hi, guys. I hope everybody's having a great Saturday. It's a warm one here. Well, for October, it's warm. I think we were at 15 degrees this morning. It was quite nice. They're saying we're going to have we're going to have a warm October, and I forgot to turn the volume down on the iPad. Sorry. It's bad, Mom. Yes.
Buffalo.
No, it's an owl. He keeps knocking me off track. Go ahead.
It's a Malinois with the horns.
No.
The little...
Oh, Christmas horns on a mal?
Yeah.
No.
It could be.
It's a reindeer.
It could be, though.
You can't see him. He's holding up cutouts that came in this week and making him into whatever his obnoxious imagination will allow.
It's not obnoxious. It's plausible.
It's, yeah, I suppose. That's not a buffalo. It's an owl.
Buffalo.
No, it's a great horned owl.
Doesn't have horns.
It's... My brain can't take it today.
Not enough Tylenol.
There is not enough drugs in the world today. I have a son for sale. Any takers? Okay, let's get back on track here. Today we're going to be painting this piece. I love this one. This one is called My Familiar. I miss my little sooter kitty. My little sooter, and that's what this one is. Is just a simple rendition of what my soot looked like. So we're going to be painting this cute little kitten with the pumpkin and the very Halloweenish background. It's a fun one. It's not difficult to paint. I think you're really going to enjoy this one. I had a lot of fun painting it. But before we get on to that, we do have some giveaways today, as always. They're on my desk. We have some Create bags, and we filled it up with a bunch of creative goodies, including a nice set of Dynasty Faux Squirrel brushes, so you're going to love this. Plus, we've got some pens. We've got a whole bunch of fun things in there. And, of course, you never go without all those extra goodies that we'd like to toss in when we send things out. So your giveaways for today are valued at about $45 US, which is a nice little giveaway for today. What? What am I missing?
Tara L. Ellis.
You raised him, you must keep him. Yeah, I'm afraid so.
You kept me alive this long.
Yeah, it was harder than you think. So before we get started, I want to say hi to a few people.
As long as he comes with the dog.
Oh, he would. Well, I don't know. I don't know.
You'd have more dogs than you know what to do with.
Yeah. We would get another one pretty quickly. Bobby Corey. Hi, Bobby. Deb Daniker. Hello, sweetie. Deb got her little present. I sent her a little just because this week. And, Kelly Davis. Hi. Thanks for joining us. And Marion Struckness. Tishmak Struckness. Good morning from North Dakota. You started decorating for Halloween. We don't usually decorate for Halloween until like the last minute. We're not big Halloween people. We just put stuff up for the kids mainly. And Dawn Kenny Puksowski. I know I said that wrong and I'm sorry. I just don't know how to say it properly. And Donna Pulse. Hello, Donna. And Rich. I can't forget to say Rich. I love Donna and her husband Rich make the most amazing things. Her husband makes these gorgeous wreaths. And last year they were so kind. They sent me one. It's got the cutest little scarecrow on it. And it's all dolled up for fall. And it is hanging on my front door as we speak. I just love it. And Pam Bach. First time for her. Well, don't forget to hit all of those buttons. Hit the like button, hit the share button, hit the subscribe button if you're watching from my YouTube channel, and hit the follow button if you're on my Facebook page. And that will put your name on the wheel and give you an opportunity to win one of our giveaways for today.
Did you see where she's from?
Where's she from? Great horned owl?
Buffalo.
Okay. Patrick. Hello, Patrick. And Tammy Mannon. Good morning. It's so nice to see all you guys here. Jan Schaefer's here. Paula Vaggie is here. Robin Storm. Hello, sweetheart. She's had her grandbaby this week.
Oh, Penny Frederick?
Penny Frederick. Hello from Florida. Wow.
Name.
All kinds of new names. Every week we're seeing new names. It's great. So much fun. Debbie Easton, we'll have to watch the replay. I'm at a painting seminar. Yes, pay attention to your teacher. You can watch us later. And Judy Thacker. YT is still not let me chat on your channel only. Wow, that's weird.
That is weird.
And Leanne Cunningham, Linda Giesbrecht, my girl in the peg, and Carol Colbert from Arkansas, and Kay Reynolds. Good morning. Alrighty, I said hello to a few people. I have my tea, and I have paint ready to go.
Nutcracker on your shelf? No, that's all 6.
Yeah, we have one more for next week.
Oh, is it the candy cane one?
It's the candy cane one, yes.
Yeah.
So, Renee just so happily pointed out, this is our project for next Saturday. It's the final one in the series. We have 6 of these little buggers. This one is the candy cane. I think he's kind of cute. He was a lot of fun to paint. Little nitpicky, painting those little candy canes, but he was a lot of fun to paint. So
You should be missing a tooth.
no, he's not missing a tooth.
Candy.
This one had a good dentist and proper dental hygiene. There we go.
Which one had the gold tooth? You did a gold tooth one.
Yeah, I'm not sure which one it was.
I think it was the green one.
Have to have my Saturday fix with Tracy annual. 49 degrees and rainy, a high of 52. I'd take that. We'd take the rain. Come on, rain.
Right.
All right, guys. If you are ready to paint my familiar, so am I.
You dropping stuff already?
I'm dropping stuff, knocking crap over. I dropped my heat gun.
Oh. You go.
Good Lord.
There you go. Have fun.
Always do.
I gotta take a dog for a drag.
Yeah. Who's dragging who? So this is the little guy we're painting today. And I just realized that I base coated my surface on the wrong side. Oh well, I'll have to make it work. So this one is surprisingly very easy to paint. We're doing this one in layers. It is not base coated, which is fun to do this. We're going to be working in layers of color. We're going to start with a little bit of gray in the cat, and we're going to work out. But before we get to any of that, we're going to work on our background. Now, the background for this one is really a lot of fun to do. So we're going to need either a piece of shop towel or tissue paper or something that we can manipulate the glaze with. The color that we've base coated with is called lavender. But honestly, any brighter purple will work just fine. Mary McBay is watching from Mount Hope. There's Elizabeth Monardo. Good to have you with us, Liz. So I have a piece of shop towel. I have my pumpkin base coated. So we're going to make a glaze for this. And this one is super simple. I'm using the DecoArt faux glaze medium or glazing medium. We need something that's going to make the paint a little transparent and leave the open time a little bit. So I'm going to use this. The ratio we're going to use is about 4:1. So 4 parts of the glazing medium. I'm going to use about 2 tablespoons, roughly. And then I'm going to use a little bit of Diox purple. And so that is the ratio you're going to get. It's really fairly transparent. Then you're going to need a palette knife, and we're going to mix this glaze. And it's going to be very dark, so don't panic. But it is going to be a very dark glaze. Mix it well. You'll know it's well mixed when you no longer see any white streaks or whatnot in it. This looks pretty good. Now I'm going to use a big angled shader. Now your angled shader should be wet but not dripping. And you're going to cover the entire surface, slip slap it. Neatness doesn't count for this. Just get it on. Right out to the edges. You're going to have to work quickly because you don't want this to dry or close before you get a chance to work it. So put all of this glaze on, and it's a slip sloppy mess. Look at that. But I have glaze everywhere. And like I said, it's a slip sloppy mess. You don't want this to be too neat and tidy. Now you're going to, yes, you can use a Joe Sonia glaze, absolutely. You're going to crumple this, and this is how I like to do it. I'm going to make it like this, and then I'm going to roll it up like that. So kind of like a rosebud. And I'm going to tap like this and turn it constantly so that you don't get a pattern or any specific pattern to this. Just like that. It's going to leave some dark areas. It's going to leave some light ones. And that's okay. And it's a light touch. I'm not pressing too hard with this. And you can come back if you find that you're missing something somewhere. You can dab a little. If you find that you've taken off a bit too much glaze, you can come back in, put a little more in place. There we go. Okay, that's better. I had taken a bit too much off. Or at least I thought so. So it gives you this very mottled look in the background. It's super easy to do. And you can't really mess this up, quite honestly, unless you do it as a pattern. Because what you'll end up with is something that looks like a bunch of roses in the background. We don't really want that for this. So once you have all of that done, you're going to dry it. It does look like a Van Gogh sky, doesn't it? This is such an easy technique to create a really neat background. And it works up quickly. You can do it with a variety of colors. And you can do it with a dark background and a light glaze, or you can do it with a light background and a dark glaze. Either side is going to work. It's just going to give you a slightly different effect. But it is cool. I like this effect for a variety of things. I've done this on floor cloths. I did this on the Merry Christmas floor cloth, or the Illuminated Christmas. I've done variations on this for a number of different pieces. I love this look. It's just, it gives you lots of movement and interest in the background without too much work. Diana Michaud. Where are you from, Diana? Diane Ricker. Linnea. Oh my goodness, everybody's here today. Hi, Anne. Good to have you with us. Thanks, Jill. I like a unique background. I think that it really an unusual background, even if it's simple, does a lot more for a piece than just leaving it blank or smooth. I love lots of texture in things. It just makes things far more interesting. There, I think we are dry. I love the textures in this. It just creates lots of movement, lots of interest. Makes for a fun background. And it's an easy one to really adapt to a variety of things. So I'm going to rinse out my brush. And I'm going to pick up a little bit of that glaze on an angled shader, and I'm going to blend as if I'm going to float, which is what I'm going to do. And I'm going to put a float all the way around the outside edge, like so. Just a little, I want to make it just a little darker at the outside edge, just like this. I love this look. It's just, it makes things a bit softer, a little more subtle. Look at that. And I'm going to find my lamp black. We're going to put little ghost faces in the background. Yeah, I suppose. Let that dry. This technique done in a dark green, use a lighter green and then a darker green over top of it with gold accents, is just such an elegant background. It's beautiful for so many different things. Also great for Christmas designs. So I'm going to pick up a little bit of lamp black and I'm going to blend it to float. And I'm going to put a float of lamp black all the way around the outside edge of this. It just grounds this a little bit. And at the same time, it puts all the light coming from the center. There we go. I like that little bit of darkness at the outside edge. It does make a difference to the end result. We're going to do this again a little later on, just to ground it a little further. But I love that darker value at the outside edge. We'll dry this. And then we're going to trace and transfer our line drawing on. Hello, Michelle. Belvedere, whenever I do something, there's usually a purpose behind it. I don't see the point in gatekeeping an explanation. There is always a reason design-wise for doing certain things. No, and although when you first do it, it may not make sense until a little later on, but I like to explain it anyway. So we have a line drawing right here. Want to make sure everything is good and dry. Now, I've put my line drawing on the wrong side. I've actually base coated the wrong side of my pumpkin, so the stem is going in the other direction, but it doesn't change anything as far as we're concerned. So, taped my line drawing down. I'm going to be using a white graphite to transfer mine. I'm just going to find a piece that, there we go. a little bit of white graphite. I'm going to slide it underneath. Now, I like to use a red gel pen. Oh, Casey, that's a great question. A float is when you create a gradient on your brush. So the gradient means that the color goes from dark to light, or from fully opaque to transparent. So when we say float, if you watch the camera here where we've got the brushes, I'm going to pick up a little bit of black on my angled brush. Just a little. There's only a small amount on the corner or the toe of the brush. And then you blend it back and forth like this. And then walk it into, following that direction, walk it into that float. So that when you apply it to the surface, this is what you get. I'm going to do it on the back of this piece. So this gives you the ability to put shadows in under things. So you see what I mean by a gradient? It's darkest here and then gradually fades out. This is called a float of color. So we use this for shading. We use it for highlighting. It is one of the basics of decorative painting. So it creates a shadowed version like that. It takes a great deal of practice and learning how to get the right balance of water in your brush to the amount of paint and blending it out properly. It takes a little practice to get it, but once you get it, your painting will improve tenfold almost immediately. Do I ever use a floating medium? No, I don't. But what I do use is this. I use a little bit of Joe Sonia's Fast Dry Glaze. That's what I use. That's my medium or my float. But I use this for everything, for mixing my paint, thinning my paint, doing line work, floating, stroke work. I even use it for leveling base coats. So if I want to eliminate brush marks and whatnot in my base coats, I pick up a little bit of this. So this is what I use instead of water into that faux glaze. See, that's a great idea. Just give me one sec. If you're just learning to float, and floating is difficult, you're really having a hard time getting that water to paint balance, this is a really handy trick. This is a kitchen sponge. You know, the type that has that little scrubby on the back of it? You can take one of these, get it wet. Like soaking wet, drippy, drippy wet, and then squeeze all the water out of it, or as much as you can. So that your sponge is wet but not dripping. So that when you go to load your brush to paint or to float, so I've got a thing here, and you want to get that balance, just touch it to the sponge, both sides. It will leave enough water in the brush for you to float with. If you use paper towel or whatnot, there comes a point where the paper towel simply absorbs far too much, and it'll pull everything out of the brush. I've always found that a wet sponge is just, it takes the perfect amount of water out and allows you to float easily. So the brush still has moisture in it. But it's a controllable amount. This is a very handy little trick if you're just learning to float, using that sponge to get that. And I do the same thing with my glaze medium. So instead of just picking up water, I pick up my glaze, and I still use the sponge for that. So whether it's water or glazing medium that you're using to float with, either one is going to work just fine. And the brush that I was using for those large floats is a 3/4 faux squirrel angled shader. That's what I was using. So for tracing, I use, and I've said this numerous times, I use a red gel pen. It's a 0.38, so it's an ultra fine gel pen. And the reason I do that is because it has a super fine point, which leaves behind nice fine transfer lines. But the red ink also allows you to see where you've been. So, in a perfect world, you wouldn't forget something. It's not a perfect world, but this is helpful nonetheless. Here we go. Our lettering is in. I'm not tracing my stars because I'm going to show you how to do this with a stencil. Now, to trace our kitten, be sure to follow the strokes that you're seeing on here in the direction that they're going. And that part is important. So if it stands up a little, if it goes left and right, if it leans to the left, curves to the right, whatever, it is a good idea to follow those lines and the direction, because this is going to help you a little later on. Follow those lines. Don't be afraid to put in all of them if you want to. But it is important that you follow those lines and the direction that they're going. It is very important because this is going to help you establish the placement for all of that fur. Take your time drawing those eyes. And these little details, like these things in the corners of the eyes, are very important. It's quick as the bunny. This kitten is probably the part that takes the longest, is doing the tracing for this kitten, because those lines of directionality are important. Very important to this piece, because that's what's going to make all the difference in the world as to how fuzzy and cute your kitten is. So I'm going to have a quick look to make sure I haven't missed anything vital. Oh, of course I have. There we are. Our little kitty. And then don't forget we have leaves. And vines and tendrils. We need tendrils. And it would help immensely if I moved the graphite paper. There we go. I traced all this and there was no graphite paper under it. That was smart. Here we go. Now the pumpkin is perhaps the easiest part of this piece, because it's just a straightforward pumpkin. We're not doing anything sensational to it, but we are going to have fun painting it. And as I say, we need more vines, more tendrils. And the stem on our pumpkin. Now, as always, these lines are just guidelines. They're just meant to help you. So I'm going to have a quick look at my kitten. I forgot the fuzzies on this side. There we go. There, I think our little guy is coming along. There. Okay, so we have our little guy all transferred on. He doesn't have to be perfect at this stage, but those lines are going to help. a lot. So our first step, we're going to tackle some stars. Okay, that's assuming I remembered where I put my star stencil. I have just, there it is. Got a star stencil. I'm going to show you a really easy way. I'm going to clear off my palette, give myself a clean palette. So much easier to do this with a clean palette. Now the colors we're going to use for this are baby duck. I'm going to put a little baby duck on my palette and a little bit of orange flame. I love this orange. And we're going to use a little bit of saffron yellow, which is one of my favorite yellows. This is the really bright yellow. And we're going to start with this nice big one. I'm going to put a nice big star right about there. And I'm going to use a really small stencil brush for this one. Well, I'm going to switch to a 1/2 inch here. So I'm using a 1/2 inch Stencil Pro stencil brush. And I'm loading the brush up with a little bit of baby duck, which is that soft yellow. And we're going to use a light touch and a circular fashion and change directions frequently. And then we're going to dry that real quick. And then I'm going to give it another coat. There we go. So my star, I'm going to dry it real quick. And then I'm going to take a smaller stencil brush and pick up a little bit of that orange flame. And we're going to add a little shading, like so. And then I'm going to come back in and put in another coat of the yellow so that it overlaps that shading just a little bit. Ta-da! Look at that. So we got a nice bright star. I'm going to choose one of my itty bitty ones. Well, a little smaller. Maybe that's a little too small. We'll go with this one. I'm going to put that one. And a yellow. Dry it real quick. And a second coat of that yellow. Look at that. And then while it's, take a little bit of that orange flame. Et voila. And I'm just going to make like a little cluster of stars on this side. And I'm going to do this a little quicker. I'm going to, there. I love little stars. I just think little stars are just the bomb. And then I'm going to take my stencil brush. Whoops, that's not it. That is. Ta-da! This one. It's a nice thing about a stencil is you can always put it back in place. Look at that. That's not the right one. There it is. So what is she going to do with the saffron yellow? Well, watch this. There we go. So I've got my stars in place. I'm going to take a small round or a rigger. You just need something small, and you're going to pick up a little bit of that saffron yellow, and you're going to thin it out. A little bit of glaze or a little bit of water. And then you're just going to put a coat of that yellow over top of your stars. And this just makes those stars pop. Especially when you put it over the orange. It just brings everything together really nicely. And it gives those stars some real oomph. I love saffron yellow for this. Now, saffron yellow is a little too transparent. It's very transparent to use it by itself. So I like to put something underneath it, hence the baby duck, which is a little more opaque. And then when you see the orange through that saffron, it's just subtle, but you still get that bright yellow tone from it. And I love this look. So pretty. And it just pops off of that gorgeous purple that we used in the background. Like, how awesome is that? Love it. So we're going to dry that. And we're going to come over here to our kitty cat. I love this little guy. And what we're going to do is take that rigger that we just used, a little bit of Joe Sonia's in it, and we're going to base coat those eyes. Because in all honesty, the part of this that really speaks are the eyes in this kitten. And my little Sooters, she went over the Rainbow Bridge almost 3 years ago. I missed for days afterwards. A little black cat for days, weeks afterwards. See a shadow move the wrong way, or you'd note it's just things that sort of stood out to us, sounds we would hear, whatnot, just reminded us of this little girl. And she was 14 when she left us, so. But I really miss my little Sooters. And I was playing around with an idea, and this just came to me. So she was kind of like my familiar. She was always with me in the studio, in her basket, or up on the shelf, or in the window, but she was always down here with me. So she was my familiar. So, okay, I've got baby duck. Nice opaque coat. There we go. And we're going to need a little bit of lamp black for her eyeballs. Ooh, goodness, what a mess. My Sooters. She was a little tiny thing, but she was quite the diva. And she ran this household, let me tell you. She kept Gizmo on his toes. She was definitely the diva. So we're going to paint those eyeballs black. That pupil is going to be nice and black. Just like that. There we go. Now we have to start layering in this fur. Your dogs won't allow you to have cats. I'd have another kitty. We have two. And Maze. So we're going to layer the fur. So I have a little bit of sand gray. It is a gray. If you put it next to white, you can see it. But by itself, when it's on the palette, it just looks very soft. So I'm going to use a round. I think I've got a nice little round here somewhere. Here we go. I've got a nice little round brush. Now this is sand gray. This is a great color for this. So what you're going to do is you're going to refer to your line drawing quite often for this. Oh yeah, Nita, that would be a great idea. So I'm going to use a little bit of sand gray to stroke in some of the details of our kitty. And as you're stroking, just remember to keep the strokes going outward. So if there's a large stroke or a large line, then the point is going to be outside. So follow the shape of those lines and the direction of those lines. It's very important. And it's just light. Don't worry about getting this perfect. It's just light little touches like so. And follow the shape of our kitty. And the direction of those, the direction that the hair goes. That's the important part. So there's our kitty's ears. Nice and fine. You want him to be fluffy. Or a little bit anyway. You see our little kitty's got fur. And I know it looks very strange right off the bat, but you will see why it's important in just a minute. There we go. Look at that. So you can actually bring all kinds of that in. Just make sure you follow the way the hair is going. Now I've got very little paint left in this brush, but there we go. Alrighty, I think we're pretty good. There we are. So look at that. We've got a kitty. All this does is just establish the hair. And Sylvia, I'm just using a round brush. That's simple. So I'm going to dry this real quick. And then, interestingly enough, we're going to do something similar just using the black. But we are going to take a little bit of care around the eyes. So I'm going to use that round, and we're going to put a little bit of black all the way around the eye. This is going to help give us a nice bright eye. And then I'm going to go lightly over top of that gray with the round loaded with black. And it is a light touch. We're going to go over that, but it's not going to be perfect. It's very light. The black's going to thin out a little bit as you do this. Here we go. I always thought it was pretty neat that you could layer black over white. Hi, Bonnie. Okay, the giveaways for today are some Create bags, and we filled them up with some Dynasty Faux Swirl brushes and lots of other goodies as well. Here we go. So you're just going to continue. Heck, I made a mess. Here we go. Now again, I'm just overstroking with that black and following that direction. I love that this is not that difficult a piece to paint, but yet she's so stinking cute. And as I said, we're not using a ton of color for this. It's just a little bit of paint, a little bit of black. Even if some of that purple is showing through, it's okay. Just follow the direction of those hairs. It helps give this hair a lot of texture because you can still see some of that purple, you can still see some of that gray that we put down. And it almost acts like a very light highlight in there. We are going to put more on top, but this just establishes the texture and the depth of their fur by putting this layer in. It's like an underpainting. And I like the softness it creates. So our kitten doesn't look like a hard black blob. Yeah, I got a little bit of glaze in the brush. So it's not really thin, but it is important that we follow that shape of those lines, that direction. And then that little bit of gray peeking through does wonders. There we go. Surprisingly, I love that little bit of purple that shows through. There we go. So he is going to look a little fluffy and a little rough, and that's okay. Yep. Just layer it in. And it's a light touch. I'm not using a ton of color. And even in those open areas, I'm just putting a little bit of that black, just following the general shape of that texture that we created. We're not looking for detail here. This is just creating some texture. And then you can come down here around those leaves, just make it a little darker, just in and around. Here we go. Kitties are cute, especially little black cats. I love black cats. Black cats are interesting. And yet, they're the hardest cats to find homes for. I love a black cat. I really missed my little Sooters. She was unique. That's the best word I can use to describe her. She was unique. She's extremely talkative. She was part Siamese. She had personality plus. She was quite the little drama queen. We actually referred to Gizmo and Soot as mellow and melodrama. Hi, Janet. Well, going in with a lighter color, sometimes we always figure that highlights have to come first. They don't always. And sometimes having that lighter color underneath will give you the ability to layer more. Black is a very difficult color to paint with. It's also a very difficult color to see when you're painting. And so if you have something under it, like a gray, it makes things a little easier. So I'm going to let our little kitten dry here for a minute, and we're going to go over and get our pumpkin base coated and those leaves so that we have some room. So I'm using lush green for the leaves and the stem. We're going to start with those. And I am notorious for the one coat thing. I don't, whenever I'm base coating something, I usually only use one coat unless it's something that is really not covering well. Primarily because I use so many layers when I paint that there's just too many other colors going on. So there's no real point in base coating it to the point of opacity because you're going to get it there anyway. Oop. What did I miss? Well, you know what? When you're base coating something, you base coat it solid, right? And it never really looks like anything until you get it completely done. This kitten doesn't really look like much right yet, but it will once we start layering in all of the other colors. And this cat, believe it or not, has purple and Bahama blue. So there is our base coat. Look at that. One coat. I'm the one coat queen. I don't like base coating, that's why. So there is this little guy's gonna be super cute and in not too long. Okay, so the color that I'm going to base coat with if I could find it. Of course, I lost it. There it is. Canyon orange. I like canyon orange. You can use spiced pumpkin if you don't have canyon orange. You can use any medium looking color. I'm going to grab, I've got a filbert here. It's not a very pretty filbert, but it's a filbert and it will do the job. So, oh, I've got too much liquid in my brush. There we go. I like painting each segment of the pumpkin separately. It just makes things easier in the end. And as I'm painting, I like to leave a narrow little space between each segment. Just tiny, so that you can tell where you're going to put your shading. So as narrow as you can possibly get it. So you don't have to knock yourself out trying to get this. La-da-dum. I like that little gap. It just makes everything a little easier on the other side. This kitty will look great in my house. Deb's laying claim already. So this little guy is going to have an extended ugly stage. I can promise you. But it is going to look pretty good when you're done. So I'm going to dry that. That little gap just makes a world of difference. You don't have to transfer anything again. Just makes life a little bit easier. So I'm going to dry that and then I'm going to quickly give it a second coat. Now you might have noticed that as I'm base coating, I follow the shape of the segment. It's not like just painting in something any which way. I let the brush marks remain and follow the shape of the segment. So in the end, it all works out. Ta-ta. There we go. See, our pumpkin's coming together pretty quick. Pumpkin. Now, I did this one and I played with some a product from Deckwort that it's been around a couple of years. But it is a fun one to use and it produces some really interesting effects. So I thought it would be fun to add that into our piece. I think this one is really cute. So there's our pumpkin. Now the color My favorites. I love this. This is Orange Flame. I'm going to grab my filbert again. And I'm going to pick up a little bit of Orange Flame. This is our highlight on our pumpkin. I'm going to put a coat of Orange Flame primarily to the right side. Just like that. It's not really a float, we're just throwing it in there. So we've got that little brighter yellow to the outside edge. Don't worry about that shaded area just yet. So look at that. I love what this does for that. It automatically gives it a great little pop of color. And you're going to put a little at the top of that one and a little at the top of this one. And we're going to dry that too. What's for dinner tonight? We are having Jamaican. We are having raisin rice, and we're doing a little bit of jerked pork on the grill. That's what we're having tonight. Nice little touch of raisin rice. I love raisin rice. It's so good. So, I love that orange flame. If you don't have orange flame, bright orange will work just fine. So I'm going to, this is very painterly, this part. So we're going to start building up the highlights on here. So I'm going to pick up a little bit of that orange flame, and I'm going to pick up a little bit of baby duck. Just a little. I just want to make this orange a little lighter. Just like that. It's a little stroke, nothing major. And I'm going to dry it, and then I'm going to do it again. Jessica, raisin rice is so easy to make. I use basmati rice, but you can use any rice you like. Doesn't matter what type of rice you use. I use raisin rice, or basmati rice, sorry. Good grief. Now I've got a little bit of saffron yellow in the brush. Little saffron, a little bit of, so it's just an overstroke. Little saffron with a little orange flame. Choop, choop, choop. Look at that. Now I need a little touch of warm white on my palette. And I'm going to use orange flame and pick up just a teeny tiny little bit of warm white. And each consecutive stroke is going to get a little lighter. And a little smaller. You see how they're getting a little bit tinier each time? And don't panic. I know it doesn't look like much yet, but it will. I promise. A little bit. So it's looking a little patchy. That's okay. So now I'm going to take my big angled shader again. And we need some asphalt. nice little float of asphaltum. Oof, too much water. Too much glaze, a little too wet. There we go. And we're going to float right up against those separations. Right there. This is your initial float. And we're going to do the same thing here. Now I'm going to dry that. Of course, asphaltum. And then we're going to bring that float right across the bottom too. Just like that. This is going to give our pumpkin that little shadow at the bottom. Gives him a little depth back there. See, he's really coming. So I'm going to dry it, and then I'm going to deepen it. Then I'm going to show you something really fun. I love all of that bright orange. I love that. So we're going to give our pumpkin some really nice bright tone. I'm going to grab that saffron yellow. Remember what we did with the stars? Watch our pumpkin. Our pumpkin is about to get really hot. That thinned saffron does wonders for this pumpkin and for the highlight, because it lets the highlight stay bright, lets the shading stay dark, and look at how brilliant orange our pumpkin gets. Now I'm going to bring in a little more orange. I love it. There's our orange. And you can go in and overstroke with that little bit of orange flame. Look at this. I love that saffron yellow for this. It makes our pumpkin just pop. Super easy. Now I'm going to take my look at that. And there is our pumpkin. It's just layers of thinned color. Start with your base coat and work out. And then as you want things to get brighter, you can layer in saffron yellow, you can layer in that orange flame, all of those tones, because all of them are in that pumpkin. So I'm going to dry that real quick, and then I'm going to come over here. I love this. This is so fun. I'm going to make sure this is good and dry. This is black light neon. This is such a cool product. You'll be able to put this under black light and show it, but I love this stuff. So I'm going to take my black light neon, and the one I'm using is the orange. And watch this. Our pumpkin, I'm going to paint over it with black light neon. I've just thinned it out a little bit. You'll notice that it's transparent, so I'm going to go right over top of everything with this black light neon. I love this color. We can come back in and deepen things, adjust shadows and whatnot once it's dry. We can deepen them. But the really cool part is that because we put it over the entire pumpkin, when we turn on a black light to our pumpkin, it will glow. It's a cool way to do it. And I love that orange just makes everything so vibrant. So the next thing we're going to do is tackle those leaves. Isn't he cute? I love these. They're just so fun. And we're going to use them in the cat's eyes too. So just so we can have a little extra fun. So I'm using plantation pine as my shading color for these leaves. And I need a small angled shader. Oops, here we go. I've got, oh, that one's too small. Yeah. I've got a 3/8 angled shader. Hi, Iris. So plantation pine is our shading color for the greenery on this piece. And we're going to start, remember the lines that we put into the stem of our pumpkin? We're going to shade to the right of them with our angled shader. Just like that. And we're going to do the same to the leaves. We're going to float to the base of the leaf. And in mind the pumpkin with that plantation pine. Just like that. And dry that. So just come back in and repeat it so that you get nice dark lines in your pumpkin. Shade your center vein on your leaves. And now we're going to use a little bit of margarita. You girls are talking about Holly Hanley's little gold. God, that thing is so cute. I just love the way she paints things. So we're going to put a highlight on the left side. Oh goodness, I got way too much color in my brush. So there we go. Highlight on the left side of that line, like that. There we are. So look at that. We've got texture on the stem. And then we're going to float a highlight onto the tips of the leaves, like so. There we are. And then down the center vein, so we get a nice little highlight there as well. There we go. Huh. I have no idea, Judy. Maybe Renee can help. 365 days of Christmas painting. I have a really cute set of ornaments coming up that I'm really excited about. So I've done my shading and my highlighting on here, and now I'm going to check this. I love this. This is the Blacklight Neon in green. And we're going to use a little bit of that to highlight our leaves. Look at that. I love this stuff. There we are. I love that. I love that punch of vibrancy. I love that it's just so in your face. Who doesn't love an in your face color? So there we go. A little bit of that. Look at that. I love that. So I'm going to dry that. We're going to grab a liner brush for this next bit. If I can find my liner brush. Here it is. I'm using a Dynasty Micron extra long detail liner. The size I'm using is a 5/0. And I'm going to use a little bit of my thinned margarita. A little bit of glaze in there, keep it moving smoothly. And I'm going to bring in a little of that Blacklight Neon just to brighten it a bit. And I'm going to stroke in the stems. And I'm going to do my little vines and tendrils. I love a nice tendril. I particularly like it when I can make things overlap a little, and I love that. There we go. So I'm going to tuck a leaf or two in over here too. So there's our stem. Now, one of my favorite things when I'm painting leaves is this. I like to bring a lighter value to the edge of the leaf. So that margarita and a little bit of that Blacklight Neon, it just brings a little softness to the leaves. And it gives you the ability to put a little something something at the end. Just makes your leaves look pretty. Now I need a couple of little leaves. Just like that. I'm a fan. I like little leaves. They fill up a little bit of negative space without being over the top. And then you can connect them like so. Just have them wrap around. Easy peasy. And then you can bring this up. You need a nice little tendril. I like tendrils. So, looking pretty good. I'm liking it so far. And I want a nice little line around the top of my stem here. I like that I can use a little of that bright green for a highlight. It's a super easy way to paint stems and leaves. Now, you can come in with a little float of asphaltum. Let me show you something really fun. Come down here with a little float of asphaltum right at the base of that stem. It just gives this little extra depth. And you can also take a little plantation pine and deepen those shadings in places, if they're not quite giving you what you want, don't be afraid to come back in the second time around and deepen things if you feel it needs it. Sometimes it just needs a little something extra, and usually that little float will take care of it. If your highlights are looking a little iffy, don't be afraid to deepen your shading. Usually that's all it really needs. I'm liking it. I'm liking our little pumpkin. So I've got a little bit of that neon orange. I'm loving that stuff. Oops. What did I do? I did what I usually do. Hello. There we go. A little bit of white and that neon just to brighten those little highlights a bit. I think that's all it really needs. Now, the next color we're going to use is a little bit of cotton candy. Because our little guy needs, like any cat, he needs a nose and he needs a tongue. So the nose on our little guy is sort of shaped like a T. Just like that. And then just that little bit below the nose and above the chin, we're going to put a little triangle in there of cotton candy. And that is our nose. It's a simple little nose. So I'm going to come in with a little bit of lamp black just around the nose. I just want to clean up a little bit here. There we go. And the same with the edge of the mouth. I just want to give it a little firmness, a little clarity. I just want to define it really nice. There we go. Now you're going to need your favorite liner brush. And we're going to start with a little bit of sand gray. We're going to use sand gray, Bahama blue. Let me clear off my palette here. We're going to use a little bit of sand gray, Bahama blue, and lavender. So sand gray, a little bit of Bahama blue. Don't need much. And where did my lavender go? It was here. How do you lose something on your tabletop? Oh, there it is. Okay. Didn't lose it, just misplaced it. And a little bit of lavender. So the rest of this fur is going to be done with very fine strokes of sand gray, Bahama blue, and lavender. And it doesn't matter really what order they're in. But I'm going to start with a little bit of sand gray. Going to thin it out because you want these lines to be fine. So it's important that they're fine. So we're going to start, and this is important. Have your little map with you. Have your little map with you. It's always a good idea. And you're going to start stroking in all of these little fine hairs at the edges and make sure that you are following the map. So as you can see, those little fine hairs, we're doing this with the sand gray. Okay. And the other thing that's important is that they not all start at the same place. Otherwise, you're going to end up with a stripe. Hi, Sharon. You want all of these lines to be different lengths, some to go past the edge. This part is the tedious part. You lose all things. Oh my goodness. Some days I couldn't find my butt with both hands, I swear. So there is our sand gray. I love this little guy. He's cute. And I love that these fine hairs like, how fun is he? You have a look. You're going to be following all of those little lines in the map, so to speak. So be sure to check your line drawing frequently to make sure that your lines are all following the map. I'm in the midst of just having way too much fun with my Halloween stuff. I found a couple of line drawings that I want to play with. Digging through my stuff, right? So I have a couple of little fall ideas. I have some rack pin ideas. And have I ever used the glow-in-the-dark paint? Yes, I have. The one that you mix with your acrylic? Yes. I like that one too. I do like that one too. Both Sandy and I worked on that glow-in-the-dark paint when we were learning or in the development phase of that particular paint. So we both had an opportunity to work with it. I loved it. It was fun. But I don't often do a lot for Halloween. So for me, it's one of those neat products, but it's not a... Oh, Donna, you're packing for Nat. Oh, I so wish I was going. Unfortunately, I can't. Between the health issues and border issues, I won't be making it to Nat. That's so disappointing. But what can you do? So he's getting fuzzier by the moment, which I get a kick out of. I just love this type. There we go. Such fun. There we go. Now, don't kill yourself trying to get it all filled in, because you don't have to. You might notice I'm leaving large areas open, that there's no line work, because there's texture throwing. That cat looks like he's doing crack. He is. He's got a catnip problem. Here we go. He won't look like that for much longer, I promise. So we've got a bulk of that in there. He's looking pretty good. He's a little brighter, but it's, again, we're going to do this in layers. And I do love my kitty cats. So our little fella has nice soft little mouth. Just little strokes. And I'm going to put some fine little strokes on his chin. That's the lower portion of his mouth. And then we've got some nice little strokes. And we've got some fur. Like I said, go back in. Make sure your paint is nice and thin so that it comes off the brush in nice fine little lines. Because you don't want it to come off in a glob, honestly. So this little patch under his chin, you're going to start right about there, just below that little line for his chin. And we're going to layer. This one's going to be quite bright. It's going to be brighter than the rest. And we're going to bring that down here. Sort of forming a little bit of a triangle. Now, my soot had a little cluster on her chest just below her throat. It kind of looked like a diamond necklace. It was so cute. So we've got our sand gray in. So now we're going to switch over to a little bit of Bahama blue. And again, we're going to thin that out quite a bit, because we don't want this to be really bright. And you're probably wondering, well, why bother if it's not going to be all that bright? And you will see that blue gives the coat a blue cast, which is really important. But we also, remember those two little lines that we put in the corners of the eye? Right here. I'm going to do those in a little bit of Bahama blue. You can do them in sand gray too if you want to. And then just at the base of the eye, you're going to leave a little space right there. This just indicates the water line of the eye. And then we're going to put some nice fine hairs right there. And again, this is Bahama blue. I love these little fine lines of Bahama blue. They are going to make a world of difference in our kitty. So, and you're going to overstroke in a few places. Don't forget, we're going to work over top of this gray. And bring in that cool value, that little bit of blue. And I want some fine ones on the muzzle. And fine ones on the face. And as fine as they are important. And I want to go over top of the muzzle with that little outline of blue, little fine hairs. I love that little bit of blue. Now it's important to come up here in those fine lines and overstroke with a little bit of the blue. Just in a few places. I like it right on the forehead, right in that space between the eyeballs and up. That little bit of blue. Don't forget to get a little above the nose. Our little guy is coming along. So a little bit of blue in the ears as well. Don't forget. That little bit of blue makes a huge difference. It may not seem like it at the time, but it does. There we go. And we're going to do the same thing in the fur here and here. Now, from this point down, we don't need to do a lot because we're going to put a lot of black in there. And this guy looks a little overworked, but he really isn't. You'll see why shortly. There we go. And I'm going to bring in a little blue here too. There we go. So we've got, oh, one turquoise and one gold eye. Oh, I bet that'd be pretty. We have a little bit of lavender. I love a little lavender in this. Because we've got bits of purple that peek through, we're going to use a little bit of that lavender. Nice and thin, just like we did before. We want to bring in little bits of that purple. And this is one area that I really like it. I'm going to use some little dots of purple around here, just close to the eye where that hair is. Just as tiny as you can get them. It's just a little line. It's important to get a little of that purple in. So don't be afraid to stroke in a little bit everywhere. It's not a bad thing. Now, I need lamp black again. I had it here. Don't you hate it when your paint disappears? There it is. So a little bit of lamp black. There's a couple little areas I need to fix because I've got a chin showing that I don't need. Right here. I've got a white line there that I don't need. So I'm just going to overstroke it a little. There we go. Look at our kitty. And we're going to use a 1/2 inch angled shader. And a little bit of lamp black. And we're going to put a float of lamp black under the chin, right here. And we're going to let that float overlap that hair that's on the chest. We're going to put a little shadow inside the ear, just a little float right here. And do the same thing on this side. Little float. He's looking pretty cute. And I'm going to put a little float at the neck, just like that. And I want to keep it nice and dark right here. Oops. Right along the pumpkin. We want to get this nice dark shadow. Nice crisp dark shadow right there. Overlap all of that hair. It's fine. So you can have a look at it, and if at any point things are looking a little too bright, you can float over top of it with a little bit of that thinned lamp black. Just like that. Just to soften it a little. Anytime you feel it's too bright, just put a soft float of thinned lamp black. I'm just toning mine down a little bit because it was a little much. But I think if I did it any lighter, you wouldn't have been able to see any of it on camera. So I'm just thinning a little bit. Whew. Now the fun part. We're going to do those eyes. Like, they're cute, but he does look like he's on crack. So the color that I'm going to use for the eyes is Orange Flame. So I'm going to use a float of Orange Flame. I don't want it too dark. There we go. And we're going to put a float right across the top of the eye till it comes to about the halfway mark. Don't worry about the pupil. We can put more black in if it needs it. So we want that orange to come about halfway down. Just like that. Just halfway. And you're going to dry it. And then we're going to repeat that. A little bit of Orange Flame. I really want this bright at the top, fiery at the top. There we go. Nice bright orange. Now he just looks a little shocked. What would I do for green eyes? Oh, I would base with Margarita. I would shade them with probably something like New Leaf or maybe even Holly Green. Maybe we should do that. But let's show you how to do this one first, and then I'll show you an alternative because I think you'll love it. So we've got that nice bright orange. I'm going to take some of that saffron yellow, that gorgeous saffron yellow that we used for the stars. Dun, 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 dun. And we're going to shade the bottom. Again, don't worry about the pupil. Shade the bottom with that saffron yellow. This is going to give us that really high acid yellow. He did look like Zombie Kitty until I painted his eyes. Yes, he did. So I'm going to dry that. And then we're going to go in with a little bit of asphaltum. And this is where his eyes start to take on a bit more shape. I'm going to use a little bit of asphaltum. And we're going to float the top of the eye. So when you look at the eye, it's starting to take on a little more shape. deepen it just a little. Deepen it a little bit more. Looking pretty good. Now we're going to tackle that eyeball. So I'm going to bring in that lamp black because we want the eyeball to be very black. So we're going to paint that, bring that black back in. It needs to be very dark. That's why I said don't worry about the eyeball, because you're going to come back in and deepen it anyway. So now we've got nice black eyes again. We're going to take our liner. This part's fun. We're going to take our liner brush and a little bit of warm white. And we're going to put just a fine line of white right at the bottom of the eye, just about the middle portion to give it that brightness. And then the highlights are going to go on the left side, right on the edge of the pupil with a little dot. To the upper right side, little dot, and then just below it, we're going to put a smaller one. Again, right on the line. And I'm going to dry this. And then we're going to use a float of lamp black. Just make sure that your dots are dry before you do this. Going to put a float of lamp black right across the top of the eye. And if you need to, come back in and redo your highlight. I came down a little low, so I'm going to brighten mine. There we go. It's amazing to me what that little float of black does for those eyes. It's just so quick that it comes together that way. Now you can come in with that white on that little corner element at the eyes. Just put a little highlight in there. You can put a little highlight across the nose and here. This is what's fun about this, is that you can come back in and adjust things to suit as often as you like until you're happy with it. But I love the eyeballs on this little guy. I just think he is so stinking cute. Little highlight on that water line too doesn't hurt. Look how cute. Little dots. Never hurts to put little highlights in. Now, you can use a gel pen. You can use, honestly, you can use whatever you like for these little, for some of these little highlights. If you want to brighten your kitten up, I'm going to stroke it a little more blue here because I want a brighter chest. And I want a little extra here to brighten his nose. I love that little bit of oomph at the top of the nose. There we go. Like, how cute is he? So you can use a gel pen to put, you can use a gel pen to do his whiskers and his eyebrows. So I'm using a white gel pen. I kind of like the fact that the gel pen skips a little in this case. And kittens, kitty cats, always seem to have the coolest little whiskers. So don't be afraid to put whiskers in with a gel pen. Look how fun. Do the same at his ears if you want to. Don't be afraid to put in a few little punches of highlight. It's not going to hurt anything. So before I finish off all of this, we still have lettering to do. I wanted to show you one more thing. I'm going to use a little bit of neon yellow. So we've got a little of this blacklight neon in yellow, this scorching yellow. And I'm going to use a rigger. Remember that white highlight that we did at the bottom of the eye? Watch this. So I'm bringing a little of that scorching yellow into the bottom of the eyeball, just at that highlight down there. You can do the same thing to the lightest points of those stars. Just bring in a little of that neon yellow. Just makes those colors pop. But I love that little bit at the base of the eye. Where that highlight is, that eye just becomes super bright. Look at that. I love that little bit of neon in this. It's just such a fun way to dress this up. So we have one last thing to do. Well, a couple of last things to do. We're going to do this lettering. And one of the first things that I like doing with this type of lettering at this point is to come in with a little bit of lamp black and put a float to the right-hand side of our lettering. And that little float is going to make our lettering stand up really nicely. And it's just a little float. Nothing, we're not going whole hog here. It doesn't have to be absolutely perfect. But it is going to make our lettering stand up really nicely. And what I mean by that is it's not going to look like it's stuck on the background. It's going to look like it's just floating there a little bit. It's a little float, doesn't have to be perfect. To the right side, just using a little bit of lamp black. Look how cute. So I'm going to dry that real quick. And then we're going to use that big angled shader one more time with a little bit of thinned lamp black. I don't want this pure. But we're going to put a nice little float around the outside edge, right over the kitty. And this, again, just draws the eye in a little bit. And gives our pumpkin a little more depth. And then a little asphaltum down here. Just deepen our pumpkin a little bit. Now I'm going to dry that, and then we're going to use a white Posca pen to create that lettering, which is super simple because it's just like writing your name. So I'm going to grab my favorite Posca pens. I love these. I did see that they were, I think it was Dick Blick they were on sale on. And I'm a big I like Dick Blick. That's a great store. So make sure everything is good and dry. Now I'm using the white Posca pen. I love these. This is the 0.7 millimeter. This is a really great size for this. No, they don't, Milena. They do not wipe off with varnish. These are a water-based acrylic, just like your regular paint. I love these. These are, I think, perhaps my favorite paint pens. I have a few different varieties, but I really love these ones. And I think the reason that I'm so comfortable with these is that they move smoothly. There's no, they don't stick, they don't stop and start. And it's just like working with a ballpoint pen. Of course, it'd be a good idea to start like on the right side, the left side, instead of like trying to write backwards. Now, if you wanted to, there's no reason why you couldn't take a little glow-in-the-dark paint and mix it with some warm white, do the lettering this way. But there are tons of ways that you can make this little guy, you know, just that much better. I really love working with those Posca pens. They're just so simple. And they do make some of these types of fonts, this type of lettering, so much easier. And the other nice thing is that if you really mess it up, you can wipe it off right away. But there we go. There is our cute little pumpkin piece. I love this one. I just think he's fun. And I managed to do it. I managed to get it done in our time today, which is amazing. Again, this one is super, just take your time doing the line work, all of that detail stuff, and make sure that you follow the direction of the hair or the growth of the hair. Make a world of difference. But there we are. Such a fun piece, this little kitten, little black cat, my familiar. Easy peasy little piece to do. Such fun. Send Here we go. I don't know where Renee is, but he's going to come and get the wheel ready. But quite honestly, this piece is easy to paint. Just take your time doing each one of these little steps. All that line work is perhaps the hardest part of this. The rest is just basic technique. It's not a difficult piece to paint. Just take your time. He is fun. I love doing the eyes. The eyes are, I think, perhaps the most difficult part of this. And yet it's just floats. So.
Somebody had a cool idea in the chat.
Oh, I missed it.
You do the eyes with glow-in-the-dark paint?
I did.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, you saw it. All right.
But now somebody asked me a question, so now I've got to figure something out here. I'm going to grab a pencil, and I'm going to draw an eye. And I'm going to use Margarita, because I have to figure this stuff out myself, right? Because that's just me. Somebody had asked about doing an eye in green. So let's say we do it in Margarita first. Okay. Margarita. And dry that. Why doesn't the paint dry as fast on paper as it does on wood? One would think so. Good Lord. Come on. There we go. And then, oof, where's my rigger? There it is. I'm going to take a little bit of lamp black and we'll paint our pupil. So just because somebody asked about doing an eye in green, so let's do that. So we've got a little bit of lamp black for the pupil. We'll dry that. And I'm thinking that a leaf green would be great. So I've got a little bit of leaf green. New leaf, actually, is what it's called. Ooh, that might be a pretty one. So we're going to do a leaf green at the top. So a float of leaf green at the top of the eye to about the halfway mark. That's working out. And we'll dry that. And then I'm going to give it one more float just for depth, giving it a little darker color at the top. So that's not too bad. We've got a nice little gradient going there, a nice light value at the bottom, darker one at the top. I'm going to grab a liner brush. I'm going to bring in that little white stroke. Woo! Too much water. Liquid. Little white stroke at the bottom of the eye. And I'm going to come back in and darken my pupil because I can. I'll dry that. I'm going to grab a little bit of plantation pine because that's a nice dark green, but it's still quite transparent. So there is our plantation pine. This might give us really nice. Oh yeah. So there's that nice darker value at the top of the eye. I'm going to nice light small one there. And then I'm going to grab that neon green. Because we can. And I'm going to go across the bottom of the eye with that neon green. Oh, yummy. There we go. So same process, but the colors that we chose: plantation pine, new leaf, margarita, lamp black, warm white, neon green. Green eyes. You're chatting. So simple, just changing things up, leaning into greens as opposed to the yellows that I chose. But absolutely, you could do the greens if you wanted to. So simple way to just change it up a little bit. If you'd prefer green eyes, there you go.
They're saying YouTube won't let them chat.
Oh, really? A couple of people had that problem.
No idea. All our settings are.
Yeah, everything seems to be working fine on this end. So,
Who knew?
Who knew? I like it. Now I'm thinking I should do another one with green eyes. I like the green too. The green works. So have you got the wheel already?
I do.
Awesome.
switch.
Yes, I would still do that last shadow of black. Petra is watching. She's watching with her grandson.
Price done. Please tell me it worked. It did.
Okay, just to reiterate, you guys, we've got a nice little create bag for you, and we filled it up with a bunch of creative goodies, including a nice set of Dynasty Faux Squirrel brushes. It's a 4-brush set. So there are 3 of those to give away, and Renee has the wheel all ready to go, so he is going to hit the spin button. Once he gets his notepad.
This is my familiar.
It's a lot of colors for the eyes, but that's really what gives you all of the depth, is having that different layer of color.
You ready?
I'm ready.
Boop.
So our first winner is
That person.
Tammy Mannon.
Tammy Mannon. Lots of new names on here.
Yep.
Next one.
Next one is Sandy Jackson. Awesome. Second winner is not Kay Reynolds. That was Kay. And the third one,
I don't know if I double spinned or not.
Noreen Sanderson. Awesome. So for those of you who had your name pop up on the wheel today, all you have to do to claim your winnings is just send us your shipping information. Hop over to the website at tracymoreau.net. Click on the little speech bubble in the lower right-hand corner of the screen and send us your shipping information, and we will get it out to you as soon as possible. So thank you everybody for joining us again today. Next Saturday we're going to be painting the last in that Nutcracker series. We're going to be doing the little guy with the candy canes. So come and join us at 12 noon Eastern Standard Time, right here on YouTube or on Tracy Moreau Live on Facebook. You can find us here every Saturday. So thanks so much for watching, everybody, and we appreciate you. If you are not already subscribed to my YouTube channel, please do so. Hop over, hit the little subscribe button, and turn on bell notifications so that you get notified whenever we go live or whenever we add new videos. To all of you, have a safe and happy weekend. Mwah! We love you. Stay safe.
Pet your dog.
Pet your dog.
Yep. Pet your dog.
That dog.
That dog.
Did you count your fingers? Oh, they're all there. Okay.
Go see Mom.
Maze,
Go see Mom.
come here, pup. Come on. Come see Mama. Come see Mama. You silly thing. Have a great weekend, guys.